The architecture of history, the commonly accepted timeline of human events, is traditionally built upon definitive, accessible evidence: the inscribed stone, the signed treaty, the authenticated photograph. Yet, within the deepest, most secure vaults of state and private archives, there lies a shadow history, a collection of documents that defy resolution, that challenge the very established realities they were meant to record. These are not instances of historical oversight or bureaucratic error. They are cold case files, where the objective truth dissolves entirely into speculation, leaving behind only brittle paper, meticulously preserved data logs, and an unending procession of unanswered prompts. To examine these files is to stare into the abyss of non-knowledge, to admit that sometimes fact only generates deeper shadow. The first such file details the vanishing log of a highly classified transport operation designated Flight 701, an event shrouded in official secrecy since its abrupt conclusion nearly 20 years prior. The physical log itself is preserved under climate-controlled conditions within a secured government facility. It is not digital data projected onto a screen, but heavy, military-grade cardstock, the kind designed to resist fire and time, bound in a faded dark blue binder. When handled, and only authorized personnel may handle it, wearing thin cotton gloves, the paper feels cool to the touch, dense with compressed information. The room where it rests is sterile, lit by a low, humming fluorescent fixture that casts a perpetual institutional pallor over the surrounding steel cabinets. The log of Flight 701 is unnerving, not for what it records in the moments leading up to the end, but for the shocking blankness that follows. The final page is dedicated to the flight telemetry recorded directly from the aircraft's onboard black box systems, documenting altitude, airspeed, engine performance, internal cabin pressure, and, crucially, precise coordinates. The ink, a severe black, confirms the plane was maintaining a steady cruise velocity, 29,000 feet above the sea, engines running within normal parameters. There is no trace of erratic maneuvering, no evidence of structural fatigue, and zero indication of a drop in oil pressure or hydraulic failure. The last entry is timestamped 04:18:22 Zulu time. The accompanying coordinates, 34 degrees, 11 minutes, 47 seconds north, 151 degrees, 09 minutes, 3 seconds west, place the aircraft over a deep, churning expanse of the Pacific, historically characterized by slate-colored water and fierce, unpredictable weather patterns. Immediately adjacent to this final line, where the subsequent routine entry should appear, 041823, the page is blank. The data flow did not degrade, did not flicker, did not send corrupted packets. It simply and instantaneously ceased. Investigation teams, working against monumental political pressure, spent 5 years mapping the seabed in the immediate vicinity of those final, definitive coordinates. They deployed side-scan sonar, remote-operated vehicles, and eventually highly specialized deep-sea manned submersibles capable of working at extreme depths. What they recovered was nothing. No trace of specialized hull composite, no floating seat cushions, no sheen of jet fuel contaminating the surface. Crucially, the archive contains zero metadata confirming a crash, a maintenance failure, or even a single truncated distress call. The log records an aircraft perfectly functional at one precise second and completely non-existent the next. The log is a chilling record of abrupt cessation, the documented proof of an instantaneous erasure from the physical world. The atmosphere of the file itself is that of profound silence, the official record confirming the existence of a machine and its crew right up until the point where reality decided they were no longer required. It is a mathematical certainty leading to an existential void, a meticulously itemized path to nowhere. The second artifact is a heavily stamped and cross-referenced transcript originating not from the turbulent skies, but from the frigid silence of deep space. This file stems from a remote radio observatory, high in the thin, dry air of a mountain plateau, far removed from the polluting chatter of human broadcast. The observatory's primary function is the relentless, tedious monitoring of cosmic microwave background noise and the search for anomalies, signals that cannot be explained by pulsars, quasars, or the thermal radiation of interstellar dust. The physical document consists of a stack of yellowed, brittle papers secured by a single, rusty paperclip. The original printing was done on thermal paper. The ink has faded in places, requiring official photographic overlays to preserve the intensity of the recorded data spike. This transcript captures the event of March 12th, identified internally as the 72-second pulse. The file details a burst of radio frequency that pierced the cosmic static with impossible precision. Technicians, whose frantic handwritten notes edge the margins of the printed graphs, immediately recognized the signal as non-random. While most astrophysical noise generates chaotic, broad-band frequency distribution, like the sound of endless white static, this signal exhibited a structure based on prime number sequencing and geometrically perfect periodicity. It was mathematically flawless, achieving a level of internal coherence that defies all known natural mechanisms of wave propagation in the universe. The visual representation of the signal on the printout is stunningly clear, a razor-thin, perfectly formed spike rising vertically out of the jagged baseline of background noise. The signal strength was not overwhelming, but its intentionality was unmistakable. The initial analysis confirmed that the source could not be terrestrial interference. It arrived from a vector entirely incompatible with satellite transmissions or military ground relays. For exactly 72 seconds, the focused transmission continued, a cold, precise hum, structured like a theorem proving itself to the listener. The observers, a small team of highly specialized astrophysicists, moved immediately to triangulate, to confirm, to capture the full spectrum of the transmission. Yet precisely at the 72-second mark, the signal did not fade, did not distort, and did not encounter interference. Like the log of Flight 701, it simply dissolved, instantly dropping back into the endless, formless noise of the cosmos. The years of subsequent analysis documented within the file are a testament to scientific frustration. Every attempt to model the observed phenomena using known physics, quantum entanglement, advanced plasma fluctuations, even theoretical dark matter interactions, fails to account for the signal's perfect mathematical geometry and, critically, its instantaneous disappearance. The 72-second pulse stands as a singular, documented piece of evidence that suggests complex, organized communication existing outside our understanding of the universe. A brief, impossible whisper that shattered the silence before retreating forever behind the cosmic veil. The yellowed pages smell faintly of ozone and old paper, preserved evidence of a brief conversation we were only allowed to overhear for a statistical instant. The third file surfaces not from a sterile laboratory or government vault, but from a decaying urban environment, a dilapidated warehouse district bordering an industrial port. The physical artifact itself is a small, heavy, leather-bound ledger recovered during a routine demolition sweep. The leather is dark, dried, and deeply cracked with age, secured by a tarnished, slightly greened brass clasp. It smells faintly of mold, dust, and the sharp, metallic tang of oxidized seawater. The ledger, designated the Solstitial Atlas by the analysts who painstakingly documented its contents, provided the identity of its deceased owner. A person of no documented means or notable historical footprint, found in proximity to the book, identifiable only through dental records. Yet, the ledger itself reveals nothing of their origin or purpose. The pages within are brittle, thin, almost translucent, etched not with conventional language, English, Latin, or any recognized tongue, but with complex, densely packed arcane symbols. These are not simple ciphers or artistic doodles. Experts in classical semiotics and ancient scripts confirmed the symbols exhibit an internal consistency and grammatical structure, suggesting a fully functional, highly technical language that has absolutely no linguistic precedent on Earth. The etchings are minute, requiring magnification to appreciate the painful precision with which they were inscribed, sometimes appearing less like ink and more like delicate scarring or burning upon the thin paper fibers. Interspersed among the dense blocks of geometric text are elaborate, hand-drawn sketches of celestial mechanics. These are highly detailed astronomical charts. However, the constellations depicted are visible only from the deepest parts of the southern hemisphere, far south of the equator. Some requiring sighting angles possible only from latitudes seldom visited by modern observers. The charts emphasize specific star clusters, most notably the precise configuration of the Crux, the Southern Cross, and the irregular clouds of the Magellanic systems, shown in relationships to each other that imply observations taken over hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, documenting minute changes in stellar drift. The profound conflict within this file lies in the jarring juxtaposition of the known and the utterly unknown. The owner was a verifiable person, existing in the contemporary world, dying alone in a forgotten building. Yet their final document, their lifelong record, was inscribed in a language that should not exist, mapping stars that require global travel to observe, and demanding an expertise in archaic astronomy that defies their known background. The book is an intimate window into a secret life, yet the window is made of opaque glass. It is a record of intense personal devotion to a cosmology that is entirely foreign. What was the purpose of the ledger? Was it a religious text, a navigational log, or a scientific treatise? The identity of the owner is a physical anchor connecting this extraordinary object to our reality. But the symbols themselves, the language of the stars visible from the underside of the world, have never yielded their meaning, leaving analysts to pore over the delicate, cracking pages, searching for a linguistic key that may be forever lost. The very act of turning the pages feels like brushing against a secret history of the Earth, written by an unknown hand. The fourth dossier drags the investigation from the heights of the cosmos and the obscurity of dusty city streets into the crushing, absolute darkness of the ocean's abyssal plain. This file contains high-resolution sonar data and photographic evidence detailing a colossal, perfectly geometric structure resting 15,000 feet deep, nearly 3 miles beneath the surface, in a region rarely breached even by exploration submersibles. The discovery was an accidental byproduct of a proprietary geological survey mapping deep-sea tectonic activity. When the filtered sonar data returned its profiles, analysts initially dismissed the massive return as a geological anomaly, perhaps a massive mineral formation or an unusual basalt column. But subsequent passes, using advanced multi-beam sonar arrays, confirmed the impossible. The structure is an immense, perfectly formed obsidian square. Its edges exhibit textbook 90-degree angles, extending from multiple city blocks, resting immovably within the soft, silt-laden seabed. The material, analyzed through high-pressure core samples taken by robotic drills, is a crystalline structure, unlike any common terrestrial rock formation. It possesses the density and thermal inertia of certain high-grade manufactured ceramics. Yet, geological dating places it in an age far preceding the emergence of anatomically modern humans. The physical environment is critical to understanding the file's implications. At 15,000 feet, the pressure is unforgiving, measured in thousands of pounds per square inch. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and the environment is entirely hostile to conventional human technology. For a structure of this immense scale, its flat, seamless surface appearing vast and unnatural against the chaotic contours of the oceanic landscape, to exist, it must defy current technological understanding of deep-sea construction, material science, and geology. The high-resolution photographic evidence captured by specialized submersibles equipped with massive, penetrating LED arrays is perhaps the most chilling part of the file. The light cuts through the impenetrable blackness, illuminating a section of the square's surface. It is seamless, utterly without joins, inert, and impossibly smooth. There is no visible sign of erosion, no accumulation of hydrothermal residue that marks natural vents, and no evidence of organic attachment or bacterial colonies. It is pristine, a monument to an unknown force or civilization capable of constructing architecture in an environment that naturally dismantles all human attempts at permanence. The dossier is thick with competing scientific theories, impact physics, massive crystal deposition, even unknown tectonic processes. Yet every hypothesis fails to account for the perfect symmetry. Nature does not sculpt 90-degree corners at this scale and depth. The file is therefore undeniable proof of intelligent design, but the designer is absent, the construction methods are unknown, and the purpose of the obsidian square. Resting under the crushing silence, defying the weight of the water column, remains perhaps the greatest unanswerable prompt in oceanic archaeology. The paper smells slightly metallic, reminiscent of the pressurized chambers used to store the deep-sea samples. Finally, the fifth file is not a fragment of history or an impossible artifact, but a meticulous record of contemporary political silence. This is the 300-page Senate intelligence transcript concerning a decade-old technological initiative, internally coded Project Icarus. Unlike the faint traces of the other files, this document is characterized by presence and oppressive weight. It is printed on thick, heavy-bond, watermarked paper, the very texture of institutional authority. The transcript details a series of closed-door sessions involving testimony from high-level engineers, defense contractors, and specialized ethics panels regarding Project Icarus's deployment and subsequent termination. The file is voluminous, bound tightly, demanding effort to open. The immediate, visceral impact of reading the file is derived from the thick, uncompromising black redaction that covers nearly every sentence. The redaction is not a fine line drawn over sensitive words. It is a profound, heavy application of black ink, covering entire paragraphs, sometimes entire pages, leaving vast, suffocating fields of absolute darkness across the white paper. The black appears dense, almost physical, standing out in relief from the page, functioning as a physical impediment to knowledge. Out of the hundreds of thousands of words contained within the testimony, only isolated fragments remain visible. These fragments, surrounded by the oppressive silence of the black ink, hint at a terrifying narrative that the reader is forced to construct entirely from official absence. The visible fragments are chillingly suggestive. Capacity, irreversible. Protocol, failure, consensus. Ethical firewall, compromised. A decade before deployment. Consequences, immediate, global. These scattered, exposed words confirm the subject matter involves a technological capacity far exceeding official disclosure. A program that progressed to a point of profound ethical compromise, necessitating immediate and absolute governmental concealment. The weight of the black bars suggests that the details, the specifics of the technology, the nature of the compromise, the reason for the immediate cessation, are considered so catastrophic that their very mention, even within the most secure legislative context, must be extinguished. The file is a terrifying study in the authority of omission. The silence is not merely the lack of information. It is the active suppression of information, documented and confirmed by the highest levels of oversight. The implication is that Project Icarus reached an unknown threshold, something that scared those in power into an agreement of eternal silence, acknowledging a power that human institutions cannot or must not manage. The very existence of the 300-page document, meticulously redacted, is proof that something happened, something profoundly impactful, and that the only remaining truth is the official mandate that we must never know what it was. The file smells dry, crisp, and faintly of the specific chemical odor of high-density black toner used for mass censorship. These 5 files: the silent cessation of the aircraft, the perfect radio pulse, the arcane symbols of the forgotten ledger, the impossible structure beneath the sea, and the overwhelming black silence of the Senate transcript, do not exist in the domain of simple human error or historical gaps. They stand as monuments to data without conclusion. They are the cold, hard, documented proof that some facts only generate deeper shadow, defining the terrifying boundaries of human ignorance. They confirm that history is not always a narrative of ascending knowledge, but sometimes a vast and chilling record of what we failed to comprehend. What vanished? What spoke only once? And what the highest authorities have decided we can never, ever hear again. They are the documents of the unanswerable, preserved for an inspection that can never yield true resolution.